So, no, it's good. No, we can do that. I'll talk to Zolly, and no, that's fine. The KPI is good. Well, I'll just continue. I'll put myself on mute and yeah, continue the meeting. And if I hear a question, then I will answer. So I'm going to put you on mute now. Okay? Cool. Finally. Got some time for a presentation. I'm on mute here. It's going to be a monologue. I know how this happens. This works every time like this. It's going to be a monologue for half an hour, and then if I get a question, I'll ask. It's fine. So, ready for the presentation? Who of you recognizes this situation in a virtual meeting? Or even if you're honest towards yourself, who of you does this sometimes? Put yourself on mute. Maybe even polish nails, do some emailing. Raise some hands, please. Oh yeah, some honesty. I'm sure one of them. I do this. I put myself on mute, and I'm happily to email, because it's efficient time. Huh? I'm even in a meeting, and I'm doing this. Well, who of you works in a virtual team? You work in a virtual team here? A couple of people in the back also, virtual teams. Actually, it is known, and let's see if the clicker now works, that, let's switch it, that 89% nowadays, out of a survey of 1,620 respondents in 90 countries, 89% works in a virtual team. Quite a lot. And 48% never meet other virtual team members. So they're spread around the world and they never see each other. And 84% say that it's quite difficult in a virtual communication, that it's more difficult than to do this in person. And 89 of the virtual teams nowadays conclude at least 2 cultures. So I guess it's time that we step up, get out of the mute situation, and make something out of these virtual meetings, because they're here and they're here to stay. We see this in Hungary, where I recently moved. We see a lot of these multinationals, so virtual meetings are here to allow ourselves to be in a worldwide collaboration together. My name is Brouns. I work for Krauthammer Human Digital Group, and I'm a coach trainer there. We specialize in management, leadership, sales trainings, coachings, and I always say tailor-made workshops. And today I want to discuss a little bit about the steps of a virtual meeting, to give some tips and tricks. And it's going to be fast-paced, most probably, because there's a lot of, let's say, bullet points. However, after the presentation, most probably in the beginning of next week, you will receive also the presentation. So it's nice, then you have a handout, and then you can pay attention instead of always making maybe the notes. Of course, make notes how much as you want. So let's first recognize the 5 phases of a meeting. Of course, you have the preparation. And the preparation is, I think, for virtual meetings, one of the most key elements to have a successful meeting. We have the start of the meeting, the during the meeting, and the end of the meeting. And last but not least, if we're working in virtual teams, so it's not a one-off meeting, there's this important stage between meetings. So, before the meeting, in virtual meetings, I think we're all using different kind of platforms. I love to work with Zoom. Zoom allows us to use video and is an easy way to communicate. But at least if you're going to set up a meeting like this, test it. Test the meeting. You want to know that every technology is working, because there's nothing worse than starting on a meeting and losing again 5 to 10 minutes because technology is not working. And have a backup also. Have a backup. Maybe it's an international conference call number, but have a backup where people can dial in if technology is failing on you. Have this apparent on you. Then if you got documents, share them beforehand. Share them even before maybe the meeting invitation. Already start sharing. Even in between meetings, of course, you have this. And ask participants for preparation. And preparation It's asking them for agenda points, make clear to read the documents, and be very strict on this. If you haven't read the documents, you're wasting time of the other participants. It's one of these meeting etiquettes. I will get to rules of engagement. But if someone doesn't read it, I've done this before. I've learned virtual meetings in a hard way. I started as a junior international project manager as a software company. I was Dutch. I worked in a Belgian company. I was shipped for a project to Leeds, and I was working with 7 cultures at the same time. I learned the hard way that when nobody is prepared and all this stuff, that we are all suffering as a whole team. So be clear. And if you provide this clear agenda, do me one favor. Take out the reports out. And the reports out, I mean the status updates. How many meetings do we have where we're just sitting and the first 10, 15 minutes are wasted listening to the other one doing a report out? Ask people to prepare this in advance, share this with the group, and then when there's unclarity or there's a difficulty or an issue, then use this part in the virtual meeting. Use virtual meetings to their full extent, not like a bunch of 5th graders reading out what the status update is of the day. I think very important as a leader of the meeting is ask opinions. Ask opinions beforehand. Don't go into the meeting not knowing what the opinion or maybe the comments of the others are, because you will be surprised in the meeting. And this is something you can already beforehand tackle. So know your audience. That's also knowing their opinions, their comments. And I think it's always good to investigate a little bit about the audience, where are they at, and create clear rules of engagement. And create real rules of engagement is like the meeting etiquette. And this is something which is you have to particularly look at as a group, as cultural differences can have difficulties within having the right etiquette. For some cultures, it's very rude to interrupt people whilst they're speaking. And I know it's a common thing. We see it as a value, no, don't ever interrupt. But there are also cultures where it's very normal, or meeting cultures, where somebody is in a monologue, and you have to step in. If somebody is so, from out of his or her culture, used to not stepping in, he or she will be quiet for the whole meeting. So have some clear rules about respect. How do we engage with each other? How do we work with time-wise? All these allocations. And then it's time, of course, to start the meeting. To start off the meeting, I would always suggest to use video as much as possible. This also eliminates, again, the multitasking in the back, and again, putting yourself on mute. But there's a clear understanding. When video is involved, we can see the emotions of everyone. And there's a bunch of a difference if somebody's seeing it. And even in silence, if I can see the other being in silence, I can see the other one frown or laugh. I can see if someone agrees with the idea or not. And eliminate all your disturbances. Make sure you shut down that email on the other side. Make sure your phone is on silent. Make sure maybe that your dog, if you're at home working, that he's in the back. And always we see a lot of people also, I hear a lot of people driving on the road. Take a parking spot. Take the time to be in that meeting and stand there and be focused on the meeting, whilst multitasking is already known as not that valuable anymore. Then when you start the meeting, briefly go over the meeting agenda, of course, and rephrase summarize again the meeting etiquette, the rules of engagement. As the rules of engagement have to be agreed upon everybody, so you can also raise the red flag when they are being, when somebody steps over the line. And then I think most important is to create that collaborative atmosphere. we have to start developing real relationships. As we're in a team, I knew I came into this team, and I came into the team, and I thought I was junior project manager. I thought, well, we're going to fix this, and then I immediately started talking about the content. I was fully engaged. I was young. I was eager. I was there. I was like, come on, let's fully engage. But nobody was answering. Nobody was, let's say, turned on and tuned into the meeting. So what I quickly realized is that first I have to start bonding. And bonding is also a thing within knowing each other's culture. So I did some funny stuff in between. I created a virtual tour. So for every meeting, we did a 5 to 10 minutes in the beginning, a virtual tour of one of the offices. And you can imagine we had 7 cultures, so it was a lot of nice virtual tours we had. But the nice thing was we got to know each other where the conditions were, where we were working in. Next to that, we did fun games. Find the most useless gadget. And then everybody went on and find the most useless gadget and present something about it. It sounds silly, but the silliness is much more serious as it is the fun. As you have fun with your colleagues around the corridor where you drink the coffee or when you're sitting on a desk, you need this in these virtual teams too. We just saw that 48% never sees the other colleague. Well, let's better make sure then at least it's fun what we're doing here. We even watched the movie, but then apart, and then we reviewed the movie after. And we did an investigation, and that's on a more serious note, because I was working with 7 cultures, I quite quickly found out that we need to do some serious digging in what are commonalities and what are differences in cultural behavior. So I invested firstly heavily in knowing what is let's say the strengths of your culture, but also when you go over that strengths, what is your pitfall of a culture, and then what are then your challenges and what are your allergies, and together with that we could stack these, let's say, quadrants, as maybe some people of you know, it's Core Quadrant from Daniel Hofman, a Dutch colleague. But by stacking these quadrants, I've quickly found out that the challenge of someone can be, of course, an allergy of another person, or the pitfall of someone else can be a fully allergy of the other. But recognizing this and agreeing with each other that this is the case is already moving forward. So invest heavily in the cultural aspect and let it come back. Every meeting I let it come back quickly, because we did, let's say, bring 3 of the most funny facts of your culture. And it was fun to share. We had also a fun part where I was working in a hotel, and let's say 4 or 5 of my colleagues from different cultures were joining me in the hotel, and we asked them to bring a bottle of nice liquor of the country. I was not in Hungary yet, so I was not on the Palinka yet, but otherwise I would have brought that. Then during the meeting, it's quite clearly that you need to involve everyone. So we kicked off, we are ready, we're going, agenda point, we're going, and then you have all these different types of people going around. And I think as a leader of the meeting, it's good to know your people. And let's say if people, do you maybe know, who of you knows the DISC quadrant? Of dominant and influential and stable and compliance. Well, you have these dominant people in the meeting. They will keep posing their opinion, and you've got these shadow boxes. That's like me, like the yellow ones, and you have the stable ones, the green ones. They will keep a bit in the shallow. They want to least amount. They are efficient. They speak whenever needed, and they want to stick to the agenda. And then you have got blue, and blue ones are the compliant ones. They are more into the procedure. They are meticulous. They are about the knowledge. But recognizing your fellow companions in the meeting helps you engaging, of course, with your colleagues. And knowing them, then you also know how to engage. Because if you can try to, let's say, silence a yellow one, but you can better acknowledge and see, okay, no, cool, you shared that, can you get back in the meeting? Let's, like, instead of shutting him off, because for the rest of the meeting he will most probably be blocked to give any idea on you. And also use these meetings to do more of a collaborative problem solving. As I said, leave out the reports, report out the status updates, but go into problem solving together. Do a creative brainstorm, and we will do this a little bit together. I have a nice, let's say, gadget in how you can have people more engaged in your meeting. What I always said, it's kill mute. You have the decency. Normally also when you're in a meeting, you don't get up and put yourself on mute and go out of the door maybe to get a coffee or something and then get back in the meeting. So I think what happens in real life has to happen here too. Be present in your meeting. And ban multitasking. And banning multitasking is very easily, if you put the video on, of course, if everybody is not on mute, but assign also different roles and rotate the roles. So assign a timekeeper, assign someone who has to do the actions, maybe assign someone who has to give a summary in the end. At least make sure that the tasks are spread, and in the end, assign a Yoda. And a Yoda, I don't know if you know Star Wars, but he's like that wise Jedi in Star Wars. But that's the one who, let's say, maintains the decency also. It maintains that giving feedback doesn't boil over into rude comments. And he can raise the red flag also about these rules of engagement. And helping and using a Yoda like that makes you as say the leader, if you're the project manager or some, you can focus more on the meeting too, because it frees your time up too, and it gives other ones tasks to not be multitasking. For now, I would like you to take your phones, please. For now, you're allowed to take your phones, you have them mute, and go please to app.klaxoon.com, and we're going to do something together. If you go to app.klaxoon.com, you will be able to participate. You can log in with a six figures code. It's X3RDMZ. Maybe raise your hand quickly or something, a show of hands if you're logged in. Who's logged in already? See some hands here already. Yeah. Everybody has the code at least? Because then I can flip the screen to what we're going to do. To make it a bit more interactive instead of only listening. What you see here is one of the screens of Klaxoon. Klaxoon is a platform we use within Krauthammer Union Digital Group, many times within our own meetings, but also when we facilitate these brainstorming sessions, these workshops. You can do a lot of things. This is one of the things. This is called a brainstorm, but you can do surveys, I can do live questions, I can do a live poll, and you can even do challenges where you do, let's say, a quiz or an adventure through the whole day where you have, let's say, checkpoints. For now, I would like you to do, if you're logged in, just for a couple of minutes we're going to do this, use the sticky notes, green or red, to post a do or a don't in a virtual meeting. What you found out already when you were in a meeting, or even maybe in a common meeting, which also applies to a virtual meeting. Just to show you how it's working. I see already the first ones pop up here. And I will try to moderate this as quickly as possible. Let them let them come. So we check in by name, we see send agenda before the meeting, very clear. Absolutely, have time for small talks. It's your colleagues. You have a lot of small talk during the day too. You don't work effectively 8 hours. You maybe work 7, because there's also small talk included and going for coffee. Send the documents before, as said, absolutely. Ask opinions. See, and I can change also. Now I'm showing you quickly, if I click one, then I can even change it as a moderator. I can add. You can even make pictures and put that in as a sticky note. Maybe Agnes, you want to join me in a picture? Put my smile on. But very quickly, and you can imagine when you have a bit more time for this, clear the frames. Who said clear the frames? Ah, what do you mean by clear the frames?
I mean, before meeting, you were talking about if you can interrupt other people or not.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, really, like have the clarity. Absolutely, no worries. And as said, I can click these and I can make it green. The nice thing about this tool is, as you see how quickly this goes, but everybody is engaged. You're looking at the screen, you're looking at what are the others doing. You can even like the post-its of other people. As I said, you can make pictures, and we can immediately organize. This is just a simple do and don't, but you can make a full mind map together on brainstorming. It's quite an inventive way to have everybody engaged. And when you see that someone is not engaged, let's say a person is not engaged, as the Yoda or as the lead of the meeting, you can ask like, hey, where I haven't seen idea of you maybe. At the same time, it's interactive. I will let it go now. There's a picture coming in very quickly. Exactly. So the picture coming in, very nice sometimes to also remind you. And the nice thing is that you can export all these things into an Excel sheet. You can make snapshots of different stages. Just as a handy tip for you guys if you're out there in a virtual meeting. Okay, thank you very much for the participation in this. I will keep it open. If you are just going around and you still think about something, I will use it also for my own virtual meetings to not be fooled again. And then you get, of course, to the end of the meeting. And the end of the meeting, I think you have to have a clear action list. And if you have an action list, then you send out afterwards when you receive the minutes of the meeting. Because if you separated the roles, then you got the minutes of the meeting from one of your colleagues. But here, someone wrote small talk. I think in the end, you have to have this coffee machine water cooler moment. Take 5 to 10 minutes after every virtual meeting to evaluate a little bit the meeting. And that's, let's say, the final moment where everybody can speak their piece. Because normally, everybody's going to leave, let's say, the virtual meeting, and everybody cracks on with the day. And there's no moment to reflect, or either they need to call each other and then going to talk about, I didn't like this. Give space to everyone to say what they liked, they didn't like, what they want to change. Ask the question, if we would do the meeting again, what would you do differently? And see even also if there was a debate, because discussions happen, see is everybody okay? Is the circle closed? If there was feedback and it was hurtful, check if the other one is still there. And close the circle together. And then in between the meetings, oh, I see the N dropped. Between the meetings, that's a moment where you have the chance to engage one-on-one with people. You can do one-on-one coaching, you can do one-on-one video chats to check in and to maybe ask more questions about the status update. And this is also the part where we use SelfDrvn for. You have employee engagement tools, like SelfDrvn, as Mans just explained you, to keep a project team, to keep a department, to keep a full company engaged between meetings, where you can put surveys. We do it in our own company. We have a monthly survey. It takes me 1 minute on my mobile phone, where I check in and we can see the status, how we're feeling towards the company at the moment. And we can give feedback towards each other. And we have a timeline, just like Facebook. All in all, it's quite a challenge. I think coming together is just the beginning, as said, as Henry Ford said. Keeping together is the progress. But working together is real success. And I hope with some handful tips, the next virtual meeting will be even more of a success for all of you. And what could be your next step? Thank you very much.